Right, Matrix, just to help you out with some of the nuances in the exercise that you were given, I'm just going to look at this in 3 different little videos, just going over some points where I think you might trip up in the solutions for these questions. The textbook did have some errors in the back of it, so I did make some corrections there. Also, there were some assumptions that had to be made because it wasn't very clear in the questions. But anyway, let's get on. So, in this video I'm going to look at the interest. In activity 6.1, page 115, you can look at these things. You'll notice I've made little points here about certain things, like you're only asked for the interest, so please only give the final value. The final value of the interest and not the final value of the loan or the investment at the end of the period, right? Because in the next question they'll ask you for other things or whatever, right? They're quite strict about giving exactly what they want. All right. You'll also notice over here they wanted the time given in months, but the interest is given to you per annum, so you need to divide by 12 to get a monthly interest rate. All right. So you also have to break things up over there. Same thing over here. They've asked you for the interest per month, so you're going to have to work it out where you break it up per month. That is a monthly interest rate that you were given, not a per annum. Right, this is a loan shark. They're going to be taking serious advantage of you in this situation. Alright, I think the rest of this, these questions on the screen are fairly straightforward. You'll notice though in this one over here, what I've done is I've split the situation up over each year, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. Okay, I first worked out the interest for one period, and because it's now simple interest, I can just take my interest and multiply it by the number of years and add it on, alright, to get my final one there. They also asked us to draw a little graph or a little chart. So I've just charted it out here. Hopefully it's clear enough for you to see. You will notice though that on this axis I've started it not at 0 but at 60,000 just to make it easier to see. The graph, when I was drawing it, was a bit wonky when it started at 0. It's not necessary as such to start at 0 unless you have numbers starting at 0, especially in this sort of situation. Alright, then we're going to move on to the next exercise, which was now looking at compound interest. I must reiterate this, please do not use the formulas that you might have learnt in mathematics in grade 9, or if you've moved from maths to maths lit at any point up until now. You have to split things up over each year. Alright, they want to see it piece by piece. So split it up, year 1, year 2, year 3, alright, and work with it. Try not to round off too much between these periods. You'll notice in the next couple of questions I will be doing some rounding off. It's, you know, 6 of one, half dozen of the other when these questions come up. Alright, hopefully the rest of this calculation is clear. Let's take a look at question 3 here. You'll see this is split into quarters because there are changes between each quarter. This one, we've just got the interest amount going in. An additional 50,000 was put in quarter 3, and so I have to add that 50,000. That's why it goes from 52,020 Rand to 102,020. Alright, I work with that. Then the next quarter we're told that they then take out 25,000. So that's why we've got a change in these amounts from one quarter to another. 25,000 Rand was taken out in the end. Alright, and we just have to keep working with it. Notice how we always carry down the last month's closing balance or total to the start of the next month for our calculation here. Okay, hopefully this is clear enough to you. Otherwise, I've started off with the 52,020 Rand and the 50,000. So I'm working out the interest that I earned for just these first 6 months. Then I'm taking a look at the interest that I earned for the next 3 months after that. So closing amount, starting amount, how much interest is earned there, and then I'm taking my closing amount total, oops, wrong thing, total amount there, and I'm subtracting the initial amount over here to get my 3 separate pieces of interest there, so I can get my total interest. Alright, it's a little bit roundabout. Another way you can do it is to take a look at the closing amount that you had, take away your original deposit, take away the second deposit, and add back the withdrawal. Because technically what you're doing, if you add that all together, it's a change of 75,000 Rand. You started with 50,000, you put in another 50,000, so you get 100,000, and then you're taking out 25. So 75,000 Rand is the remaining amount of money that was deposited into the account here. Alright, so it can be quite confusing, but it's just another way of doing it. You can use either way, I don't mind, and as long as you show you're working, as I always say, people should be able to give you the marks because they want to be able to see the logic. Do you understand how things work? Alright, then we're looking at questions 4 to 7. Alright, here again we're looking at the interest here. We're looking where we're going with the simple interest that's compounded on an annual basis once a year, so I don't have to do anything to the interest, it can just stay as annual. Here, because I'm working in 6-month blocks, I had to break it up and take the 14% and divide it by 2 to get 7%, so that I'm working with this a little bit more reasonably. You'll notice that the compounding every 6 months will make the amount of interest go up, so our investment does grow better with the compounding more often, as I pointed out in a previous video. Alright, and then that's just a logical type of thing there. Once again, more compound interest sort of situation, you'll see how things change. Starts with the 9%, changes to the 8.4%. You've just got to be wary of where that change happens. Read the question properly. Okay. Number 7, I just did to show you where the 0.008 came from by splitting it up here. That is the same amount as this amount over here. So it's not like I've suddenly come up with a new amount there. It was the same amount. Alright, question 8. We're looking at the original and the altered amounts. Original amount, fairly straightforward. If you've done enough of these questions now, you should be in practice as to how to do it. Then with the altered amount, you have to then take into account the changes between these things. Alright, each of those interest amounts I got from taking the new per annum amount and dividing it by 12 to get my new amounts. Alright, so hopefully that's also clear enough there. And then question 9, we're just comparing two people here, looking at how each one would be expressing the different amounts that they'd earn. Alright, also once again using their personal interest rates between these two, between Percy and Patricia. Alright, and each of them starting. The point of this is just for you to see that even though Percy started with a lower amount, because he had more interest over a certain amount of time, he will have a higher return than Patricia. Alright, and that can be shown in this graph here. I said about 4 years because we can't be very exact. It's more like 3 years 9 months, but they did ask after how many years. Alright, and then the last one is just really a simple subtraction between their final amounts to get how much more one would earn than the other. Alright, hopefully that's enough explanation there. Please contact me if you have any more questions about this.